Hello, my fellow Christian fiction lovers. Welcome to another video. Today, I am going to try and quickly, it's never quick with me, but quickly go through some of my favorites from each genre I read. Okay, so I have a lot of books to discuss. Not like a lot, but a fair amount. So we're just going to jump in. The four genres that I'm going to cover today are biblical fiction, historical fiction, split time, and contemporary fiction. I do read more than that. Those are just some generalizations. And I tried to really look at my shelves and pick out some favorites that I haven't talked about in a while. Maybe it's been a couple years. Like with that, also looking at books that I'm still remembering because they were my favorites. Sometimes you read something, it's been a couple years, you've forgotten it. But these books I do remember. So let's go ahead and talk about them. So, for biblical fiction, I want to talk about one of the books that made me fall in love with reading Christian fiction, and that is A Lineage of Grace by Francine Rivers. I have the special, I don't know if it's the 20th year edition. I don't know what it is, but okay, it's not like easily telling me. But anyway, A Lineage of Grace is a bind up of five novellas that Francine Rivers wrote, and each one the follows a woman who is in the lineage of Christ. And those five women are Tamar from Genesis, Rahab from Joshua, Ruth from the book of Ruth, Bathsheba from first or second Samuel, and then Mary from the Gospels. So all five of these women have biblical accounts in the Bible. There's a biblical story or narrative following them, but then Francine Rivers took those and, obviously took some creative liberties and all of that and made little novellas about them. And when I say little novellas, I shouldn't say it like they're just these happy stories, because they're not. All five of these women go through some really insane trauma and rough things in their lives. And I think that Francine Rivers unpacks them in a really beautiful way. I'd say my favorite of these, I love the story of Ruth. I think I like that one the best of these, but I also do like the story of Tamar in here because I had not read her story before. Like when I read A Lineage of Grace, that was the first time I had encountered the story of Tamar, and I did not believe it was in the Bible until I actually went and read it for myself, and I was like, no way this is real. It was real. It did happen. All right, the second biblical fiction I want to talk about is actually a duology, and that is the Covenant House series by Connilyn Cossette. We are a Connilyn Cossette stan on this channel, so it was very hard for me to pick out just one. All of her books are great, but these two in particular, I think, are really great because they cover a piece of biblical uh history, I guess. They cover a piece of the Bible that isn't so mainstream. Like a lot of biblical fiction will follow like the life of Jesus or like the Exodus or just these bigger portions of scripture that are a bit more popular, whereas these cover the journey of the Ark of the Covenant, basically when it goes into hiding. So the premise of these books is two young, I think they're Babylonian or Philistine. Yeah, they're Philistine. Yes. So two young Philistine children are running away from Philistine. Yeah, they're running away from home, and they end up following the caravan that's taking the Ark of the Covenant to hiding, and they witness when in the Bible one of the like people who's taking it like touch it and that like the whole company like dies or something. So the first book, To Dwell Among Cedars, follows the older sister Eliora, and basically they get adopted into a Hebrew family, and she is really good with like gardening, and um she kind of stewards that gift. And then there's like this whole drama surrounding the arc that I can't entirely, I can't remember the finer details of it, but it's really really good. And then the second book is Between the Wild Branches, and this follows the younger brother Lucio, and this is like a minor spoiler, but at the end of the first book, well, this isn't minor, it's a spoiler, but it's okay because it's not directly related to the plot of the first book. But Lucio runs away at the very end of the first book and runs back to um Philistine. I feel like it's not called Philistine. I feel like that's just what the people are called, but that's okay. And so basically we're following Lucio as he's an adult, and kind of a lot of bad things happened to him once he went back to his homeland, and we're just kind of following his like redemption story. So that is this series. I really really love them. And then the follow on, well, it's not a follow on, the next series that she wrote, The King's Men, which is like she's currently publishing that one, that follows some of the children from these books. And I just really like how it's like all connected, and it's really great. So, love these. Okay, so moving into historical, disclaimer, I only chose one book for this because basically my whole channel is like a historical fiction recommendation. You're hard pressed to find a video on my channel where I'm not talking about some type of historical fiction. So definitely obviously go check out all those videos. The book I chose for this specific category though is Within These Lines by Stephanie Morrill. And this book is a World War II front lines story. Front lines? No, that's like the complete opposite of what I meant. Home front. That's what I meant. A World War II home front story. So we are following two teenagers, young adults, something like that. They're younger because they both still live with their parents. So I think they're like young adults. And the young man is Japanese, and the young woman is um American, and they live in I can't remember exactly where they live. But basically, oh, they live in California, I think, because very shortly after Pearl Harbor happens, the guy's family is forced into an internment camp, which I feel is like a little known fact of American history, that we had internment camps and were very, very horrible towards Japanese Americans. But anyway, so this book like really impacts a lot of that. We follow him and his family as they are experiencing some really poor treatment. But the two of them keep up through letters. And so we're basically just learning about history and learning about their relationship because they are good friends. And I can't, like, there is a romance between them. I can't remember if it happens before or after they get into the camp, but I liked it a lot because it is wartime, but it's following a different aspect of World War II. So very, very sweet. And I still think about this book a lot, and I kind of want to reread it now. All right, the next category I have is time split, split time, dual timeline, whatever you want to call it. I've heard it called all of those things, and they're all correct. But yes, I have two books from this, or for this category. The first of which is The Tea Chest by Heidi Chiavaroli. I really, really like this book. I've actually read it twice, and I think I want to read it again. It's just really, really good. Heidi Chiavaroli is one of the authors that I first started reading when I got into Christian fiction. But anyway, the two timelines we're following Emma Malcolm in 1773. Her father is a loyalist and basically demands that they all be loyalists, but she is in love with a patriot. Scandal. Oh my goodness. What's she gonna do? Well, she somehow gets involved with the Boston Tea Party. Can't remember exactly how, but she does. And that doesn't that doesn't go over very well with, like, for a lot of reasons. So we're kind of following that plot as she's like trying not to get found out, and also trying to be with Noah, I think he is. His name is, yeah. Um and so we're following that. And then in the present day, we are following Haley Ashworth. And this is exactly what the back says. She is determined to be the first woman inducted into the elite Navy SEALs. But she has some stuff that she's got to work through back home before she can accomplish that. And somehow she uncovers something about the past related to Emma Malcolm. And she kind of like goes down a little rabbit hole researching that, and she has a lot of self-discovery, yeah, just personal character growth through researching that story, and also Yeah, just learning some things about herself. So, anyway, I really, really loved this book. I think I gave it 5 stars both times I read it. So, due for a reread, I'm thinking. All right, and then second, this is a book I read a bit more recently, but still just as valid. The Bitter End Birding Society by Amanda Cox. This book follows, let me remember exactly what it follows. So we're following Anna Lee Watkins, and she is a kindergarten or first grade teacher, but something really traumatic happened at the end of the school year, and I'm being vague about that on purpose, because it gets unpacked throughout the book what happened, but something traumatic happened to her at the end of the school year, and she decides to go help her aunt pack up her house and retire, something like that, clean out her house. I can't remember exactly what, just to get away from it all and go kind of be in this mountain town and not have to face the hard stuff that happened. And while she's there, she ends up joining a birding society, and this helps her with her trauma and unpacking some of the things, like just meeting these people. It's a very eclectic group of people, but kind of through the like through getting to know them, as well as the silence of just watching birds and being in nature, she starts to heal and figure out how she's going to be able to go back into teaching next year, and recover from what she went through. And then in the past, we are following Annalise' great aunt's sister, so her grandmother. Yeah. I don't know why I said it like that. We're following Annalise' grandmother, as she meets, so there's a new pastor in town, and she meets his son, and they're basically like they hit it off right away and kind of like fall in love. But her father is like, you cannot be with him because her father is a moonshiner. Why is everybody's fathers always doing something illegal or something crazy? But yeah, so he's basically like, you cannot be with the pastor's son because we don't do that. We don't do that around here. But she's like, I'm gonna do it anyway. And basically we're just following the consequences of that decision. And we kind of know a little bit of some of what's gonna happen because of this, because Annalene like is uncovering stuff about her family in the present, but we don't know everything. So we're just kind of going back and forth. And I really, really liked it. This book made me want to get into bird watching. Literally, I love birds now, and every time I see birds, I'm like, it makes me think of this book and I want to go bird watching. And I told my fiance that, and he was like, we're not grandmas and grandpas yet. And I was like, I still want to go bird watching. All right, and then the final genre I have is contemporary. So the first book is How the Light Gets In by Jolina Petersheim. This is a Ruth retelling slash inspired by Ruth book. Basically, we're following. Oh, her name is actually Ruth. Ruth Neufeld. Her husband and father-in-law are killed. And so she moves to like she moves with her mother-in-law and her children, I believe. Yeah, and she's just grieving and processing, and in enters a farmer man who she's like, can this man have my heart? I don't know. And he's basically like the Boaz in the story. But then there is a crazy plot twist that happens, but it happens a little bit farther into the book, so I don't want to spoil it. There's a crazy plot twist that like basically makes her question being in love, like being in love with this new man. Can she be in love with him? What about her husband? Like, it's a lot. And I just remember, like, even though it is really a story about marriage and adulthood, and I did read it when I was like 18 or 19, maybe even younger than that, like, I still really loved it and was touched by it. And yeah, it just got me. So yeah, I liked it a lot. And one of the things that made me pick it up was there is a little blurb on the cover from Miss Francine Rivers herself, where she says, "This story's heart wrenching conflict had me glued to the page." And honestly, yeah, because also part of it is Ruth has to think about her daughters. Like, she has children. It's not just her own life at stake. It's her children, hers, her children's, and her mother-in-law's. So lots of inner turmoil and conflict, and I love a good story like that. All right, and finally we have one of my so far favorites of the year, South of Somewhere by T.I. Lowe. I've talked about this book a fair amount, so I won't go super in depth, but basically we're just following Juniper Wilder as she's getting out of rehab for alcoholism and trying to put her life back together and regain custody of her daughter. And it's a very character driven story. We're in Junie's head trying to just basically long for the ride as she's figuring out her life, figuring out what she thinks about God, how he fits into her recovery, how she feels about her the support system around her, like her parole officer and AA sponsor, all of these things. She makes new friends. She finds old ones that she realizes she does not need in her life anymore, and she's starting a business. And but with all of this, I mentioned this in my initial review of the story. We're also seeing how hard it is for her to recover from alcoholism and to stay on the straight and narrow and not give back into temptation. Like, it is not just like, I'm out of rehab, I'm good to go. No, we see some really low lows in her life, and then we also see really high highs and all the moments in between. And I really like that. So I would definitely check this out. It's just so full of just such southern sweetness, but while also dealing with trauma in such a beautiful way. All right, y'all, those are some of my favorites in biblical fiction, historical fiction, dual timeline, and contemporary. Let me know what some of your favorites in each of those genres are. I'm totally open to suggestions. What's it called? Recommendations? Yeah, recommendations. I might do another part of this video in the future where I break down specific historical time periods and my favorites in each of those, because I know historical is like literally, to me, anything before the year like 1980 is historical. Well, real, yeah, I don't want to offend anybody. So I'm not going to put a specific year on it, but I think you know what I mean. I guess maybe if it was written, whenever it was written, if it was written in the past from that time, then I would consider it historical. Okay, let me not hurt anyone's feelings anymore, um, or offend anybody. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you in a video very soon. Bye!